So as you can see, I have the Blazer up on jack stands right now. Not necessarily ideal in the chassis building world, but you can get some good results if you take your time, get everything level every direction. So just for all the, everyone who's going to have something to say. And I got that measurement off of the that measurement off the frame. I didn't do it off of the firewall, but I did set it up on the firewall, and ironically it zeroed out. So everything's zero, as you can see, even though you may be able to see it. It looks like it's trailing up. The chassis is zeroed out, and that's the important thing. It's the only thing that's important for this project. So we got our brake lines. Got our brake lines here bleeding off into some kitty litter with some rags over it. And then so you can see I took a grinder with a wire wheel and just cleaned up the areas I need to work in. We're going to grind out all these welded areas from the factory and re-weld them once we're done. Just go through and make sure everything's what it needs to be. Nice. I'll on this overlap here, we'll grind that out and put us a nice little weld there. Just make sure, add some gussets. OEM didn't plan for what we're going to do. So the whole goal here, I should back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I do that. Is we're going to put this lightweight chromoly K-member in place of this up to about there, where you can see where the Sharpie marks are. This, same thing. We're going to cut these motor mounts out and cut all of that out. And by doing that and replacing the stock chrome control arms with TRZ control arms, we shave about 80 pounds off the front end of this car, which balances us out for the turbo. The turbo's a 98 113. It's a big honking turbo, which weighs 80 pounds. So we're trading weight for horsepower, basically. And to do that, obviously strip the entire front end off of the car, vehicle, truck, SUV, whatever, and strip the factory suspension out. Give it a little quick once over with some solvents just to help dry some of the oil and grime off of there, and get it cleaned up. So we went through, took our measurements. I measured from several different points. Came up with that as the final measurement. Took a string with a weight on it and went across the frame on both sides, dropped it down to the ground so I could mark that, so I knew we were making a nice straight cut in the areas that we needed to cut up. And then once you cut the horns off, and the cross member off. The new K member bolts here, and then the upper tubes here, if you're not familiar, slide inside of these frame openings, and then there's a finish plate that you put on. So enough talking about it, let's get to work. Alright, so now that I got all my gear on, time for the fun stuff. So you'll notice I have nice leather gloves on to protect my hands. I actually have two shirts on underneath that hoodie, safety glasses on underneath the welding helmet, because those cut-off wheels can shatter and go into body parts pretty easily. And I want to protect myself, and if you're watching this and following any of the methods I'm using, I certainly want you to protect yourself also. There's no protecting from that. That's the glamour shot right there, but as you can see, I've made my way around 3 different times here. That cut actually probably took about 3 minutes. Obviously I've sped this up so you don't have to watch the entirety of all these cuts being made. I let the tool and the cutter do the work. I'm never forcing anything or rushing anything. I'm always looking ahead when I'm cutting, so I can make sure I stay on the line, keep everything nice and square. This entire project, I end up using about 3 of the Klingspor cutoff wheels. Klingspor makes really nice stuff. I've been using them for over 20 years. And their cutoff wheels are probably some of the best out there. They are pricey, $3 or $4 a piece, but they work real well. And honestly, I've probably used 500 or 600 of these cutoff wheels, and I've only ever had maybe like 2 breaks, and it was just getting out of position and causing deflection on my part. So you see, you got some little mouse nest or something in there I cleaned out. And obviously this isn't like cutting on a bandsaw or anything perfect, so there'll be a little cleanup if you use this method. I prefer this over like a Sawzall. It's a lot easier to control and keep your cuts really straight. So we got the horns off. Got them off pretty clean and pretty square for the initial cut on both of them. Definitely a little cleanup right here, but that's not that big a deal. Same thing over here. You know, I'll mark it out and square it up, and then take my big 15 amp grinder, which makes that look like a baby, with a 9-inch disc on it, and it'll square all that off in no time. It'll give me a hell of a workout when it does, but it'll square it up pretty quick. Next thing is cross member. So what you'll see now is I'll go through and rough cut it, because I don't want to scar up the frame. So what I'm going to do is cut it as close as I can without damaging the rails, and then I'll have to go back through and just fine tune it, pry it off, you know, cut the weld a little bit, grab some vice grips, bend it back and forth, take a grinder, clean it up. But for right now, take Old Faithful here and just start, you know, like I said, I'll get in as close as I can without touching the frame rails. We'll get as much of this cross member out as we can, so we can slide this K member up in here, mount it in those holes on the rear mounts. and get a little bit of a payoff. The yay part, the yay factor, when you've done the work and it kind of looks like something, even though you're not nearly done yet. But yay, progress. So using a lot of the same methods here as I did to cut the horns off. With these cutoff wheels, you can't cut any kind of radius or arc or anything, only straight cuts. And you'll see at the end of this, I cut as close as I could to the factory welds on everything. Trying not to scar or damage the rails that that I'm still going to be using. I don't want to go back and have to do any unnecessary repair work. So now taking my time and thinking 5-6 steps ahead is critical. You will have to cut the motor mounts loose, get them off out of your way so you can cut behind them and get the cross member off completely. Again, I'm just making as many straight cuts as possible. Staying in, again, 1/2 inch to 1 inch away from the perimeter rails on the frame so that I can, again, I don't want to scar them or damage them or cause any unnecessary work. So just take your time. And everybody's capable of doing this. The main thing is to not be overconfident. That's when people get hurt, when you get cocky and lazy, frankly. And if you get one of these cutoff wheels that shatter at 8, 10, 12,000 RPM and half of it goes flying to your face, you're gonna have a really bad day if you don't have a welding helmet on to protect you. There's that money shot again. So just repeating the same thing here. Getting the frame horn out of the way, getting the fronts and the sides off, taking my time. I'm never in a hurry when I do this kind of stuff. I don't want to get hurt. If people are around me, I don't want them to get hurt. And this is a situation for me where slow is fast. Meaning if you're slow down and you take your time, even though it may feel like the project takes a little bit longer to complete, it goes faster because you don't have things like accidents, or you're not breaking the cutoff wheels and replacing them, even if you don't get hurt. That still takes time. You're not using the cutoff wheels excessively. I've found over the years, if you push on those things and try to force feed them, or try to make them work faster, all they do is wear down quicker. If you just lay the tool on there and let the tool and the cutter do the work, the wheels will last a lot longer. You'll have better results. You'll have better cuts, and at the end of the project, or at the end of this part of the project, rather, when it comes time to cut off all my little stuff, I've done my job with more accuracy and precision so that I can achieve the goal. So as you can see, got all the main stuff cut out of the way. Got it kind of sitting in there. There's some little ears on here that flare out that don't allow those to tabs from the K-member to slip over, so I can bolt it up. But it's about 10:30 in the evening and I have to get up at 4 a.m. for my day job, so this is just going to be a stopping point for tonight. Overall, happy with the progress. Can't wait to keep making progress. Can't wait to get done with this portion of this project. Keep moving forward.